We are a community that probably have the most immigration
And
and
diverse.
the most diverse ethnic
Yes.
in the GTA, and if not the whole Canada.
I do have to say it's like a very rapidly changing neighborhood. Like you can see kind of like the hands of gentrification pushing in from all sides. There's that like new mall that just got built, and all sorts of like, I don't know, new like places that are cropping up in the neighborhood that like it looks very different.
Nice
and
coffee,
Yeah.
bakery places, which might be nice on the one hand, but it's also a sign of things getting more expensive.
Well, I've been born. I was born here. I've been here practically my whole life. Like interim time, being in Ottawa, or being in other places for a month here, a month there. But this is generally my home. I've been here 25 years of my life. That's why I was mentioning in discussions at Bread and Bricks or things like that. That's why I always talk about my roots being so deep here, because they literally are. So that's why it means a lot to me, this area.
I've been Davenport a couple of years, I think, coming to since started coming here for sure.
And you are?
I'm Scott Guzman.
Nice to meet you.
I'm a tenant rep for TCHC building on the east end. So
I'm Ateneo Shigura. I've been in Davenport area for 3 years. However, my grandmother is from here. Yeah, so I came here as a baby till I was like 7, and then went back home and came back for the last 3 years.
My name is Abdirizak Mohammed, but I like to make it easier for Canadians to call the name Abdi.
Happy.
Well, I've been coming to the shop since I moved here, and moved here around almost now 25 years ago. So to me, the shop is my second home.
So I got involved with Bread and Bricks about 5-6 years ago, and primarily and this is way back when we were still in the stop in the Blue Room. And I got into the group because I was starting to really try to draw connections between what I was studying at that time as an undergrad and what was going on around me. So I had a better idea about what was taking place in the community relating to poverty, relating to food insecurity, relating to policing. And I basically wanted to get a greater awareness of how individuals responded to it, how individuals understood it, and how I in turn can sort of add to all that. So that was the motivation in getting into Bread and Bricks. And the group, the name itself, as several members past and present have said before, the name itself literally means food and housing.
Is that people that haven't show up for a while, and then when you talk to them, they kind of recognize that you have a tent regularly, and even though some issue, you can tell why they're not attending, and that to me it gave me the reason to attend. That it affect me as well, but I'm attending is because I think without it, I will not be able to walking around as much.
What do you feel could help or is wrong with the distance between people making these policies and the people that are affected by them?
Live experience.
Because when you're in a situation, when you're in, and this is just based on knowledge that I've gathered from other individuals over the years, but when you're in a situation, and from what I've seen, but when you're in a situation of, desperate poverty for yourself and your family, you're literally living hour to hour trying to relieve that desperation as best as you possibly can. And you're not concerned about these relatively broad questions. You need relief every second. You can't plan ahead. You have to, it's literally minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. And also, you have to live through a lot of for a lot of single folks, you have to live through a lot of the, quite frankly, boredom that comes with that existence there, because you're just you need that you're removed from social contact to such an extent that you're basically just drifting from area to area, spot to spot that you're allowed to be, and even those are heavily policed too, and trying to derive some sort of contact with other individuals there in like situations. So it becomes much more bare. It becomes much more sort of reaching towards the bare minimum. Whereas folks in these positions too, they're much more geared towards the long term, because in certain spots, whether or not people are in associate professor spots or they have secure spots in the government, it's basically like they're attuned towards, okay, how am I going to get this article published at this particular point in time? Everything's sort of geared towards a particular timeline because they have the means to. That basic framework of bare minimum necessity is already established, and that's taken for granted to a certain extent. So they can just move towards those. So it's not really. So and also too, I think this is what you guys have heard. Every time you've been here with Pauline saying, feeling as though she's being sort of talked down to by these groups. We've already done this. Why do we need to do this? You should just understand, we know the situation we're in already. We don't need to be told. So those are the consequences of that disconnect between the two. It's from the grassroots. It's a feeling that people are being patronized or talked down to. Oh, we understand your concerns. We understand what's going on. And for the folks at the top, it's, just appreciate what we're doing.
If you ask the average person, do you care if people eat enough? Of course, they're not gonna say no. Most people would say that they care if they hear that people around them aren't eating enough. And at the same time, if you ask them, would you pay more taxes then for services to alleviate poverty, for better income supports, for more affordable housing, for better immigration policies, I'm not so sure. But where would they come down on that? There's one thing to feel bad about a situation, and then there's another about what would you then do to make it a more just society. So my name is Mary Rufaiu, and I'm the greenhouse team lead.
And I am Yuan Shu, and I am the Earl's Court Garden coordinator.
There's a new popularity in trying to eat healthy or vegan, sometimes creating sort of guilt for eating unhealthy food. How do you think this affects people that can't afford healthy foods?
We see this in so many ways in our program. Like, we have folks who participate in the programs that we see who have like real anxieties around like kind of food related issues, like really high anxieties around like what's in the meat, what kind of pots are we using, can those be like leaching like chemicals, or and I think that's born out of a lack of choice in their daily lives. Like, that's born out of not being able to like always make decisions for yourself. So definitely like a trend of like, when you, as Mary said, like fetishize food in a certain way or a certain way that food is produced, people start feeling guilty about choices that they can't make. And I think that really backs them up into a corner of, feeling a lack of power in their lives. And that's really damaging.
What do you feel rich in that's not money? Like, what do you feel good or meaningful for, either within this group or within your own life?
There are other times when I originally left for Ottawa, that the stop gave me a really big card, wishing me all the best and thanking me for all the years that I put into it. So if not for all those experiences there, any sort of meaning wouldn't have come out of them. That personal meaning wouldn't have emerged. If not for this path, I wouldn't have been able to go to the blanket exercise, to present a treatise there.
I think that really basic feeling of like, this is really cool, and I want somebody special in my life to also experience how cool this is, or like that like my work is like validated here, or like I feel valuable. Like, that's super basic in some ways, but I think it's one of the most kind of like, that's how we know we're kind of going in the right direction.
As far as Bread and Bricks is concerned, because we don't have any money, we don't have any funding.
We got each other.
The richness I feel is to see my buddy here, happy. The struggle that he struggled inspire me. Even though we have different struggle in terms of our health, and but when we share, and he is still sitting here, he's going to school, he look a lot better, and rather than cry about it, he go to the Queen's Park. He's marching with us. He's here with us, and with Pauline, Andrew, Leo, you guys are here to help us amplify those messages that it's common people that gonna have to take care of each other, because if government decide to just play with word and sit and make a policy that does not change anything.
We are here to look after each other.